Welcome to this video on responsive design. Responsive design is an approach to creating websites that adapt and look great on different devices and screen sizes. Whether someone is viewing your website on a phone, tablet, or desktop computer, responsive design ensures the content adjusts automatically to provide the best viewing experience for that specific device. Why is responsive design important? First, there is device diversity. Today, people access websites using phones, tablets, laptops, and desktops with vastly different screen sizes. Second, responsive design improves user experience. When a website adapts properly to the screen size, content is readable and accessible without requiring users to zoom in or out. Third, search engines like Google prioritize responsive websites in their rankings, which means better visibility for your site. Finally, responsive websites increase engagement and conversions, which means more business impact across all types of devices. Let's compare desktop and mobile viewing. On a desktop, users typically see wide screens with resolutions of 1920 by 1080 pixels or higher. This allows multiple columns to be visible at once, displaying full content with high resolution. Desktop users typically interact with websites using a mouse. On mobile devices, screens are much narrower, typically around 360 by 640 pixels. Mobile layouts require a single column, vertical scrolling, and are designed for touch interaction. These differences are fundamental reasons why responsive design is essential. One of the most important tools in responsive design is something called media queries. Media queries allow developers to apply CSS rules conditionally based on device characteristics like screen width, orientation, or resolution. For example, you can write a rule that says, if the screen width is less than 600 pixels, then apply these specific styles to the page. This is how websites change their appearance based on the device viewing them. Media queries are written using the @ media symbol, followed by the condition in parentheses. Web developers use something called breakpoints to organize their responsive design work. Common breakpoints include mobile devices under 600 pixels, tablets between 600 and 1024 pixels, and desktops larger than 1024 pixels. These breakpoints help developers decide when to change the layout of a website. Each breakpoint represents a range of screen sizes where a particular layout design works best. By targeting these common breakpoints, developers can ensure their websites look good on the most popular devices. Responsive design relies on flexible grid systems. Instead of using fixed widths for layout elements, developers use a grid approach where columns shrink and expand based on the available screen width. A common approach is using a 12-column layout system. As the screen width changes, the number of columns displayed can change too. For example, on a large desktop screen, you might display 3 columns, but on a mobile screen, those 3 columns stack vertically into a single column layout. This flexibility is what makes the design responsive. Flexbox is a modern CSS technology that makes creating responsive layouts easier. Flexbox automatically wraps items based on the container width, and it does this without requiring media queries. The key property is display set to flex and flexwrap set to wrap. This tells the browser to flow items horizontally across the container, and when there is not enough space, to automatically move items to the next line. Flexbox is very useful for creating layouts that adapt to different screen sizes with minimal CSS code. There are 2 main strategies for building responsive websites. The first is called the desktop-first approach. With this method, developers start by building the website for desktop screens first, with all features and full layouts visible. Then, they use media queries to reduce complexity and adjust the layout for smaller screens. For example, you might hide a sidebar on screens smaller than 1024 pixels. The desktop-first approach is useful when you already have an existing desktop website that you want to make responsive. The second strategy is the mobile-first approach, which is increasingly popular today. With this method, developers start by building the website for small mobile screens first, keeping the design simple. Then, They use media queries with minimum width conditions to add more complexity and richer layouts for larger screens. For example, on screens larger than 600 pixels, you might add a 2-column grid layout. The mobile-first approach is beneficial because it forces developers to focus on essential content first and ensures the website works well on the most constrained devices. Here are the key best practices for responsive design. First, use fluid typography by scaling fonts proportionally using relative units like rem and em instead of fixed pixels. Second, use flexible images with maximum width set to 100% so images scale with the container. Third, focus on performance by minimizing code, lazy loading assets, and testing on actual devices. Fourth, prioritize accessibility by ensuring touch targets are large enough to tap, using semantic HTML structure, and following Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, standards. Following these practices ensures your responsive website works well for everyone.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.